Tarotski's Darlinkies. Fluttering gently at my door, not a sound I heard, it was a raw, sweet phrase.
Hello and welcome back to the Tarotski podcast. Today we are looking at some of the traditional reading elements of the cards. We have the traditional reading and the tarot interpretations on those cards. Allow me to present the needs table, not with any presumptions that the Maslow hierarchy of needs table is in any way deficient. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a psychological theory by Abraham Maslow, classifying human motivation into 5 ascending basic needs. Now, these needs, to him as a Jewish male, given the direct instruction by his parents to look after himself, the Holocaust reactions of the horrid world at the time, wise words indeed from parents advising their sons to survive. Based on biblical chronology, Moses' mother, Jochebed, placed him in a basket in the River Nile around 1525 BCE. This event, recorded in the book of Exodus, occurred to save the infant from a decree by the Pharaoh ordering all Hebrew boys to be drowned at birth. And I'd say it's about time we let that all go. Moses' mother did the right thing at the time, and now it's time to let it go. The Tarotski's needs table, although it's divided into 9 sections, there is no official hierarchy as such. As food may be plentiful, but an anorexic person will not be availing themselves of this abundance. Same too with the fine weather will reduce humans' housing needs. So the Tarotski's needs table looks to our own needs, which we personally have responsibility to look at and fulfill, and also then be able to understand and reciprocate for others who may be in our circle or not even our circle, in the macro grandiose of the world. As a young student, I read about the language of tarot and the language of the Bible, as it has been presented and interpreted through the ages. Now I have to see this through the particular genres of my childhood, where Maslow's self-actualization, achieving my full potential, was in his male-orientated schedule. As he watched the disabled child being beaten, egged on by the parents, watching, I certainly would not be able to stand by and watch that. Empathy on the table would come into play, and my right brain would not be able to see the distinction between the child being abused and beaten and myself. Maslow was able to watch and note the observation. When studying A-level English literature, I had to look at the original Chaucer writings, and I found the actual language too difficult to actually fully comprehend what he was saying, and I needed other books to teach me how to actually translate this into a language that I could actually understand. After I'd actually made the connection between the language and the language I'm using now, I was actually able to go back and read the scripts that he'd written without actually having to translate them. I just seemed to be in the script, understanding it somehow or another. Although his tales were 600 years ago, he was born in London around 1342. We were clearly in the community area of the needs table, where the meaning of life was portrayed as finding a resolution to enable a happy life. Overcoming the presumption, were born with entitled lives. Faced with the reality of what was really happening and what we thought should be happening, was an actual story in itself. And so through the entertainment of the actual story being told, we were able to relax and have time to chill out. Even if we are self-sufficient, the mechanism that we have to live in will have an economy that will function around some form of barter. Love can be described as a complex set of emotions. Because it is a multifaceted emotion, love takes on several different forms, often characterized by ancient concepts and psychological theories. Eros, passionate, romantic love driven by physical attraction and emotional intensity. Philia, deep affection, friendship, characterized by loyalty, camaraderie, and shared interests. If we're looking at the traditional psychological components, then we'd have intimacy, passion, commitment, the decision to maintain the relationship over time despite obstacles. This love can be expressed as words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. And then we come into the controversial area of love as an entity represented by God, encapsulating the words that say we are spirits having an earthly experience and love is our goal. So when things are too much for us as human entities, we can just give it all up to love. And lastly, but remember that the categories are in no way in any order, we have creativity. In tarot, human creativity is probably best represented by the wands, as this is the spark of fire, which symbolises the sudden spark of inspiration. However, the ultimate card for creativity depends on what phrase or creative process you are in, basically. The magician represents the power of manifestation and channeling raw ideas into physical reality. It signifies taking control of your tools and will. The Empress, on the other hand, who is said to be Jupiter, symbolises the birth of new ideas and the abundance of nature. She is supposed to be the archetypal mother of creation, representing fertility, growth, and the nurturing of art. However, this is the Empress representing the right of our brains, where she has no boundaries, as the right hand brain of our beings have no boundaries either. So if the three Empress appears, we have to remember to set boundaries. If we're looking at love, the Two of Cups may be one of the cards we may have an inclination to draw for this love meaning. The Lovers represents passion, love, deep attraction, and the conscious choice to be with a soulmate. It is the ultimate card for romance, chemistry, and twin flame bonds in traditional reading. Now, while the Two of Cups is widely considered the true soulmate or partnership, it can also mean a business relationship. While the Ace of Cups represents the pure, overflowing potential of a new heart opening, experience, or falling in love. It is the foundation of emotional connection because the cups represent the element of emotion. Looking at economy, we may draw the Ten of Pentacles because it best represents human economy as a whole. It signifies accumulated general wealth, sustainable resources, trade, and a stable, thriving community. It shows people working together to build a prosperous, lasting foundation for future generations. This card, for a lot of readers, can be symbolic of an idealised concept of economy. Capitalism and greed. The Five of Pentacles represents economic hardship, poverty, and systematic inequality created by the wealthy. While the Seven of Pentacles reflects long-term investment and waiting for a return. The Seven of Pentacles will be talking of something growing, like a seed you planted and it's been planted, it's starting to grow. You've kept the birds away and we're halfway there just waiting. This economy may be speculative. Depending on how you see rest and relaxation, From one end of the scale, we might see the Four of Swords, known as the card of retreat. It represents a much needed mental break, physical recuperation, like a time in hospital, or even just a little lay down, and taking time to step back from life. The Hermit, often known as the been there, done that, got the t-shirt card, is the perfect for introverts. This card represents pulling back from social demands to retreat inward, recharge batteries, and connect with inner wisdom. Rest and relaxation can also be the Sun card, the major arcana card symbolising pure joy, warmth, and peace. The perfect vibe for a relaxing holiday or a tranquil day off, even. Exploring meaning and purpose in tarot. The answer typically lies in the major arcana, which represents life's overreaching themes, soul lessons, and spiritual journeys. If you're looking for a specific card, or if a particular card turns up in a spread, like the Fool, often considered the main character of the tarot, the Fool represents limitless possibilities, taking leaps of faith and living in the present moment. Its core purpose is to explore the unknown, embrace spontaneity, and trust your intuition. So, depending on the meaning and purpose you're looking for, it will depend on kind of if you don't really know what you're looking for, then just take a leap of faith. The World, on the other hand, is someone who has come onto this planet for an actual experience. This is the final card of the major arcana, representing wholeness, fulfillment, and reaching a major life milestone. Your meaning here is tied to completing journeys, completing cycles, or achieving goals and celebrating your achievements. Again, the Magician. This card is all about the manifestation, personal power, and bringing your dreams into reality. Its appearance suggests your purpose involves taking inspired action and using your unique skills to create a change. But these cards are presuming that you actually know what you're exploring and what the meaning and purpose is. Whereas Judgment, which in the Tarotski cards has been changed to Centre, the old Church of England, not Church of England as much, it's probably more the Catholic Church, represented the judgment, represents an awakening, a rebirth, and answering. But that is when you kind of turn to the Catholic teachings. The real meaning of the centre is to look in yourself and look into your own centre of being. And the Star, of course, the card of hope and inspiration. It signifies your purpose is about finding inner peace. So coming after the Centre card, this will probably tell you exactly what you're looking at. Healing and acting as a guide, lighting for others. So although it could be telling you about yourself, it means that you could be projecting this and helping others as well. There are several cards that represent the aspect of community. The Four of Wands being one is probably a fit for a local neighbourhood or a celebratory community event like a wedding or a commitment of some other kind. Other options depend on your goals, really. Four of Wands represents a safe, welcoming, and celebratory community. It embraces neighbourhood block parties, festivals, and safe spaces where people gather to celebrate common goals and shared joys. Three of Pentacles, on the other hand, represents a working, collaborative community. It's perfect for professional networks, co-working spaces, mutual aid groups, or terms coming together to build or create something tangible. So, but the threes always represent a contract. So, anything that has three will be the actual start or a commitment. So, whereas the twos will represent a consideration, the threes will represent the commitment. And the Six of Pentacles represents the charitable community. It symbolises mutual support, charity, and fair exchanges where resources and time are shared among members. But be careful with this one because it can be, just be careful. The Hierophant represents a spiritual, educational or constructive community. Again, you have to look carefully at this card because it can actually be a bit slightly divisive as well. It signifies established groups, traditions though, and institutions that provide guidance, shared values and a collective belief system in order to form this community or this company so that it works for whoever's on the top of the hierarchy. Looking for a card that represents empathy or a card turning up in a spread that represents empathy is probably, depending on the way you're reading, is going to be the Queen of Cups, the emotional intuition and nurturing caring card. The Two of Cups for emotional connection and deep understanding between people. And other cards include the Six of Cups, which is a nostalgia card, a card of gentleness, and Temperance, which is patience and balance. When looking at shelter, the obvious cards that come up or the traditional things that you might read about are the Four of Wands, for a safe, welcoming home, the Ten of Pentacles for general security, or funny enough, the Empress. But I have warned you, with the Empress, you need to set boundaries to what's good because the Empress will not know where the boundary is. Technically, we could relate each tarot card to a particular food. For instance, the Fool could be a piece of candy and represents a spontaneous, unexpected leap, such as like the unexpected snap and crackle of a particular candy. The Empress could be a chocolate fudge cake. This card represents ultimate abundance, luxury and nurturing, which fits the richest, most comforting dessert. The Magician, on the other hand, is symbolises a manifestation and transformation, perfectly matching the complex sauce blending chocolate, chili and spices into something magical. The Tower could be a souffle. This card represents sudden chaotic upheaval. Or a Yorkshire pudding, maybe. I've never actually heard of anyone asking about food specifically, but if I was to imagine someone asking about the projected capital needed for the sustenance of a family, like in the seven fat cows and seven skinny cows of sort of like the 7 good years and the 7 bad years of the biblical story. If I was planning a wedding or buffet for a corporate event, I might be looking at the Three of Cups. This is a card for a celebration and joyous feasting, depicting three. This is 3 again, so it's a commitment to the actual project. Other cards may indicate specific restrictions on this card as well. So there we have a brief description of the 9 elements in the Tarotski needs table and what the tarot cards may be saying is their equivalent of these particular needs and their language representing what's on the cards.
Tarotski's Darlinkies. Fluttering gently at my door, not a sound I heard, it was a raw, sweet fragrance entered as I opened the door. Pretty butterfly crystals both bowed or paused. The needs table, whose table exactly? Darlinkies, whose stable? Where a table of freshly hung sweet hay bale, salt lick, an apple for afters, let's not quibble. Our crystal butterflies went to their stables first, although an invitation needed a table. The needs table, whose whose table exactly? Darlinkies, whose table? They had passed some bees, although in a hurry with the queen bee's honey. Lazy drones to evict, Mumsies no longer needed. Politely declined the invitation to dine and proceed. The needs table, whose table exactly? Darlinkies, whose stable? And so at my door, the beautiful crystal guests, I'm honored they chose to dine and rest. My gratitude is humbled, and now my friends complete my needs table with love. The needs table, whose table exactly? Darlinkies, whose stable?